Nintendo delayed pre-orders, and it's time that we have to dive into the real messy field of what is going wrong with this Nintendo price dilemma. All of the protesters saying drop the price, and now pre-orders being pushed from April 9th to who knows when. Yep, that's official. The launch is getting messier by the minute. So good morning, Mario, and good morning, Switch fans. I'm going to be very honest and blunt. I'm going to give you my take based on reading a lot of different information from a lot of different sources, and I'm going to give you my personal input on this. It may not be fun to hear, but I am going to try and give you the most information and the most honest information. The fact of the matter is that Nintendo is trying to make money, yes. But the main cause of contention here is definitely due to the world economy and to the United States causing a whole bunch of ruckus. There's just no other way to look at it. And you can read from other people that are more educated than I that say that yes, Nintendo is trying to buffer against potential tariffs. And now that even more tariffs are coming into play, and now that there's even more going on with the global economy and people are worried about recessions worldwide, Nintendo is taking the opportunity to delay pre-orders. Pre-orders for Nintendo Switch 2 in the US will not start April 9th, 2025, in order to assess the potential impacts of tariffs and evolving market conditions. Nintendo will update timing at a later date. The launch date of June 5th, 2025 is unchanged. Now that's the good news. The shining star of today is that the launch date is not changed, but the strange, mucky, yucky ball of confusion is that this is a US only issue. So when you look at who's causing this issue, when you look at who's contributing to this issue, it's right there. It's us, the US. The European pre-orders are not being adjusted. The Japan pre-orders are not being adjusted. It's just the US pre-orders that are being adjusted. Now, infer what you will, but clearly the people in power in the US are having a significant impact on this. When was the last time a major video game delayed its pre-orders but didn't delay the launch date because of economic issues? And some people are going to tell you that Nintendo is just taking advantage of this and capitalizing on this strange market situation in order to raise the prices on their games. But let me tell you this very bluntly. Game price increases were coming, and they're coming from everyone. It's unfortunate that Nintendo is bearing the brunt of this because their launch plans lined up with right now. But soon you're going to see other companies raising the price of their games, and we can debate endlessly whether that's because games have always been cheaper based on inflation than they were when we were younger. When I was 9 years old in 1999, Pokemon Stadium cost $70. $70 today is a ton of money. That's like $130. It's a very expensive video game, and it's double the price of a $60 video game and nearly double the price of a $70 video game. So you could say video games needed to go up in price anyways. You could say that, hey, GTA 6 is going to introduce a variable pricing model, and so Nintendo is getting ahead of it. And you can say that tariffs and the global economy that is causing many things, not just video games, to adjust their pricing and to throw so many markets into a tumultuous time. Japan in particular has suffered extremely, and it makes sense that everything is going up. And I think this is all going to become so much clearer when PlayStation and Xbox also have to raise prices or also choose to raise prices, however you want to look at it. Nintendo is currently delaying pre-orders because they need to decide, are we raising the price or are we going to eat a loss? Nintendo will be taking a loss based on tariffs, and they have to decide if they're going to pass that along to consumers or if they're going to eat it themselves. What do I think Nintendo is going to do? I think Nintendo is going to raise the price. I think it's very messy. I think it's very ugly. I think it doesn't feel fair and it doesn't feel fun. But I don't think you should blame Nintendo. I really don't. Yes, they're a successful company. Yes, they have tons of money. But everybody is going to start raising prices. And if you want to point the finger and blame somebody, blame the people in power that are imposing these strange tariffs that were supposed to bring prices down but instead are bringing prices up. Obviously, the logic of tariffs. I don't want to get political, but it's just not really fair to blame Nintendo when you're seeing this across the board. And Nintendo could have taken more losses. They could have eaten this. They could have just made less money. They could have just paid their CEOs less. Yes, every company could do that everywhere in the world, always and forever. Even at the current price of video games before Switch 2, anybody and everyone could say, hey, we're going to lower the prices because we like you. They don't do that because they're a business, and the end goal of a business is to make money, unless it's a nonprofit. They want to make as much money as they possibly can. That is the purpose and existence of a business, and the executives and the board and the investors want to make money. So they could have at any point eaten more of a loss. They could have made the Switch 1 less money. Now, I think the Switch 2 is a fair price regardless of anything going on. I always thought it was going to be more than $400. I said $400 would be really lucky, and hey, it comes in at $450. I do think the $80 Mario Kart price feels like a lot. I think in 6 months, it will not feel like a lot. And again, is that because games were going to go up anyways? Is that because of tariffs? Is that because Nintendo's evil? I guess you can think whatever you want, but I truly do not believe this is a Nintendo problem. I truly believe this is a Nintendo had to go first because they've got a system launching and everybody else can kind of sit. What major games are coming out right now for the other first parties, right? Xbox just dropped early access to South of Midnight, which is not even a full price title. It's a smaller package from Compulsion Games, who needs a win after We Happy Few kind of disappointed. Sony's got no dates on their big games. Ghost of Yotei is supposed to come out soon. TBD on the price of that one. And we're going to see a game where publishers can play like $70 if they want to seem good and sell more, $80 if they want to max it out, maybe $90, maybe $100. Do not be surprised if you see GTA 6 cost $100. And yes, eventually games were going to go up in price. That was going to happen no matter what. But this issue at hand here, with delaying pre-orders and the convolution of Nintendo pricing things at variable rates, of different games coming in at different costs, and of it seeming exorbitantly high, has been 100% influenced by what's going on in the global economy and the world markets and tariffs. There's no way around it. Again, like I said, trust experts if you don't want to trust me. They've been preparing for this. They've been planning this. They've been trying to buffer against this. They need to adjust because why should their company eat all the costs? Yes, we all want to pay less. But that's not how this works. And so we're in a strange situation where everyone's saying drop the price. And let me address that. Nintendo is not going to drop the price. Nintendo may raise the price, but they're not going to drop the price. People can scream drop the price all they want, and I'm with you. I'd rather pay less for the Switch 2. I'd rather pay less for the games. Who wouldn't? If Switch 2 could cost $26, I'm all in. If it's $450, I still think it's worth it. But Nintendo is not going to budge on this. There is no amount of people in the chat that can convince Nintendo to lower the prices. That's not how any company works, and that's definitely not how Nintendo works. So you have a choice. You can be very angry at Nintendo, and you can blame them, and you can say, I'm not dealing with them, and I'm going to hate on them and support PlayStation and Xbox. But then when PlayStation and Xbox have to raise their prices as well, what are you going to do? Now you're going to hate all video games? The fact of the matter is we're in a very messy situation, and I understand the frustration, and I understand the anger. My personal belief is that Nintendo should not be the focal point of the blame. I don't think they've done anything wrong here. I think they are reacting. I think they're reacting to a lot of different factors. There's definitely more than one thing at play here, but they're telling you the potential impact of tariffs and evolving market conditions. They're telling you, experts are telling you that they preemptively upped the price of these things for that. So if you want someone to blame, I think you know where to place the blame, and it's not Nintendo. So this launch that people are saying is being completely destroyed, completely ruined, anything everyone can talk about is cost. The Switch 2 is still going to sell out. The Switch 2 is still going to be insanely successful. And like it or not, this internet uproar is going to die down. Primarily because A, Nintendo is still very, very popular. They're very, very successful. And at the end of the day, are you going to not get Mario Kart over $10? That may sound like, what the heck, Zach? That's such a self-defeatist attitude. But I'm just talking about the overall gaming industry. Mario Kart World will still be purchased. And the bundle that saves you $30 off the game is still going to be the top seller. And when everybody raises prices, the gaming industry is not going to collapse. It is going to continue. There was uproar when games increased to $60. There was uproar when games increased to $70. I feel like the frustration right now has a lot more to do with the political side of things than it does the actual gaming side of things, because the level of intensity right now is probably because it's Nintendo and probably because of just where we're at, and people were expecting and hoping things would be cheaper, and everything in life is just getting more expensive, and that's really frustrating. And so where do you want to turn the blame? The people setting the price. But there's so much more in play, and you really got to look beyond just the company selling the product. There is so much more involved. There's factories, there's employees, there's imports, there's retail space, there's boxes. There's so much going on here. It's not just Nintendo is greedy, end of story. That's not the story here. That's not the discussion here. At least it shouldn't be. I see it a lot. but this really isn't Nintendo's fault, in my opinion. Argue if you will. If you got some other evidence, I'd love to see it, because I've seen nothing of the sort. All I've seen is journalists in multiple different fields say that this is the cause of other stuff, not Nintendo being greedy. The other issue here is people expect Nintendo to be the cheaper console. People expect Nintendo to have the cheaper games. People have always viewed Nintendo as lesser than PlayStation and Xbox in different circles. And whether that's fair or not, you can decide. That's not the argument here. The issue is that because Nintendo is the first at bat with these price hikes and increases, they are going to be looked at as, oh my God, what are they doing? This is supposed to be my cheaper alternative. Maybe it will be cheaper. What the heck is the price of a PS5 going to be in 3 months? Is a PS5 going to have to go up to $550? Are PS5 games going to go up to $80 or $90? What then? What happens if some Xbox games and PlayStation games and PC games end up costing more than Mario Kart World? What do we say then? Nintendo is first out, and Nintendo also just gets a lot of hate. They're baby games, they're kids games, they're not cool enough, they do the same thing over and over again, they release dumb consoles. Like, for some reason, people find it cool to hate on Nintendo, even though this time, Nintendo is trying to incorporate all those people. Like, even though you hate on us, we want to bring you in, we want to give you access to Cyberpunk and Call of Duty and Elden Ring and all these games that are on other platforms, and by all the impressions from people that have played, they say that they run great, they look great, they play great. Cyberpunk plays better than it does on a Steam Deck, which is everybody's holy grail portable. I love my Steam Deck OLED, it's beautiful. And they're saying that Cyberpunk 2077 in 7 weeks, remember that's how long it took CD Projekt Red to get this build running, that's all the time they had, 7 weeks, they've got it running better on Switch 2 than Steam Deck. That shows you the value and the importance of Switch 2. That shows you how good this system is, and yet it's Nintendo, so it's getting tons of hate. Believe you me, I truly think that if this was a different platform holder, the reaction would be smaller. I think people would still be pissed off about the price, but I think Nintendo really is easy and gets a lot of hate from the right people in the right places that have made this just an absolute disaster. And from a price standpoint, it feels bad. It really does. Regardless, like in a bubble, me and you just having to pay $450 for the Switch 2, I think that's pretty fair. I don't really think, no matter what, global economy aside, I don't think there should be any issue really with that price. Like, is it a little bit up there? Yeah, but like it's pretty much a fair price. Everyone said between $400 and $500. People got stuck on the $400 price tag. I said be careful. It's $450. It's really the $80 Mario Kart that has everybody freaking. And I know that feels bad. Paid $60 for Mario Kart 8 years ago. Paying $80 for Mario Kart now. It feels bad. Blocking out everything, all logic, all sensibility, all understanding. It feels bad. If you don't want to buy it, you don't have to. But I think very soon there's going to come a point where almost all the games are going to cost this amount, and you're going to be given the choice of, do you want to protest this entire thing and eventually maybe protest consumerism as a whole? Like, we're getting so heady here, we're getting so involved that, yeah, things are so expensive. Wages are not matching the increase that we see in inflated consumer goods. It sucks. I do think it sucks. I 100% think it sucks. And I don't think it's Nintendo's fault. And I think this is a tariff global economy issue, not a greedy gaming company, corporate conglomerate trying to make Furukawa the fattest Scrooge McDuck on the market. So pre-orders are delayed. The console launch is not delayed. That's very good. They're going to assess, and maybe they come back and keep it the same price, but I would be prepared for them to come back and increase the price. But no matter what, things are more expensive, and it's going to impact every gaming company sooner rather than later. Let me know your take in the comments down below. Hopefully this didn't ruffle too many feathers. I think like just stating the obvious directly and truthfully is important, and that's what I try to do in this video. So thanks so much for watching. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay happy, stay positive there. Love you lots. Switch Force out.